Hi everyone, and welcome to Steve's Stitchy Spot. This is Flosstube number 9. Today is Monday, November 3rd, 2025, and this is my October and September recap. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to sit down and record last month due to a lot of work and a lot of travel, but I'm not going to go into that in this Flosstube. I'm going to do a separate video recapping a 17-day work/road trip that we did here in October. But anyway, those of you that are new, thank you so much for taking the time to check out this episode. I hope you enjoy seeing what progress I made over the last 2 months, as well as some haul, some Flosstube shoutouts, as well as some new items that are in our online and retail brick and mortar store for Leading Men Fiber Arts, a yarn studio and craft store located here in Clinton, Illinois, a small farm town in central Illinois. And so I'm so excited to be sitting down with you today. I have a couple of videos to record. I'm trying out some new technology, hopefully with a little bit of a better camera. Hopefully the lighting is okay. I have a new LED light. Hopefully it's not too bright, but we'll see how it goes. So like I said, I have not been able to do a ton of stitching because I've been gone on the road. I did try to take stitching on the road on my big long road trip, and I tried 2 nights to stitch, and I realized that I just do not like stitching one-handed holding a hoop in my hand. It is not comfortable. So I am pretty much a stitcher at home with my floor stand, and my 2-handed stitching is where I'm comfortable and how I enjoy stitching, and that's perfectly okay. So let's just jump right into the progress that I've made over September and October. So over the last 2 months, I was able to get in a total of 4,485 stitches, which isn't horrible, especially I have been gone a lot and I haven't been stitching full weeks. But let's get into from the beginning of September to most recent, what I've been working on. The first project that I'm going to show you actually got about 400 stitches into it between yesterday and today because it's my current this week's work in progress. For those of you that are new, I rotate through all of my whips and I spend 1 week on them at a time. Every Sunday I swap over I use a random wheel on my phone and I swap for a new project. I do have to go through all of my whips, one of those being granted a new start, before the wheel resets, and then I touch those projects again. But the first project that I worked on was Make-A-Wish by Carolyn Manning Designs using 14 count white Aida and DMC stitching 2/1. And I was able to get in a total of 425 stitches over 3 days at the beginning of September. I am now at 20.97%, with an increase of 1.77% since the last time I worked on it. Now again, that's a little skewed in what you're gonna see here because I did add in about 400 stitches over the last few days. So there is the beginnings of Make-A-Wish by Carolyn Manning Designs. I'm really enjoying stitching this. I love the bigger block stitching. The geometric motifs are a lot of fun to stitch. I did get this portion right here finished this morning. So I finished out that triangle and some odds and ends over here. So I'm going to go back over and start filling in typewriter method, cross country, by the strand over here on the left-hand side when I get this back in my Q-snap and stand this afternoon. So it will be a perfectly square piece. I'm still learning my mirroring technology with this new phone setup. But as you can see, I gave myself plenty of room. I bought a big enough piece of fabric. I do realize I like a big piece of fabric for my projects. I don't like to have very narrow edges, especially on smaller projects, because it's really hard to fit into the Q-snap comfortably. and I don't want to have to attach more fabric or anything like that. I'd rather just have a bigger piece of fabric and not use it. That's just me being lazy, but it is what it is. Then the following week, the next thing that I brought out to work on was Starry Night by Riolis. I'm stitching this as well on 14 count white Aida using the kit threads, which I believe are like a wool acrylic mix. I'm stitching them 2/1. I was able to get in 285 stitches over 3 days that week. I am now at a total of 4.7%, and I did have an increase of 0.8% that week while I worked on it. Excuse me, while I drink coffee. I did have to run to the doctor and the pharmacy this morning for a checkup. Everything's fine, good, but it was just a 6-month checkup. I got my flu shot, and I haven't had coffee till now, so. All right, that is one I did not work on. And of course, as I'm introducing these projects, you will see photos edited in over here of what they will look like completed. So here is where I'm at with the Starry Night. Now, because I did not know how much extra room I had on this fabric, I did start in the middle and then did like a thread, a length of thread. Then I found another length and I used that to get all the way over to the top corner over here. And then I'm doing my typewriter method cross country by the strand, by the thread length to fill in stitches there. So you can see some of the detail there in these stars, and it's going pretty well. I'm enjoying it. It is a little bit thicker with those wool acrylic threads. It's a bit harder to, they're dense stitches. So it's not the most enjoyable project, but I will enjoy the finished result. So, all right. Next up is The Fruits of Plenty by Modern Folk Embroidery. I am stitching this on 32 count Belfast linen in Tycho by Picture This Plus. I'm using 2 DMC shades of blue. I'm stitching it 2/2, and I was able to get in a total of 1,030 stitches. I did get a full 7 days on this, and I am now sitting at 76.48% complete. That's excellent. And I had an increase of 2.17%. So I'm over the 75% mark. That means I'm over 3/4 of the way done on this bad boy. This is what I was working on for 3+ years before I decided to get rid of my monogamy and start a Flosstube, because I was like, screw it, I'm going to do all the things. So I'm going to slowly roll that up here. And I did get all the way to the bottom of the piece. So I do have quite a bit of fabric left over, but I did get to the bottom of the piece there. And I already do have our initials stitched in there. So there's an S for Steve and an A for my partner, Andy. And I think this is going to be absolutely stunning once it's done and framed and all the things. I do enjoy stitching on this. I do enjoy 32 count. In fact, I have some haul to show you. And while the pattern called for 40 count, I was like, you know what? I was going to get a 40 count. And I was like, let's go with 32. Why? If I enjoy 32 more than 40, and I know that already, why put the pressure on myself to do 40 count if it's not bringing me the most amount of joy when my crafting time is so limited? I want to enjoy all the times that I'm spending with it. All right, my 4th project that I worked on, this would have been at the end of September. I did work on A Year at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. And I'm stitching this on 40 count Newcastle linen in doubloon by Picture This Plus. I'm using the called for DMCs and I'm stitching it 1/2. I was able to get in a total of 840 stitches in the 5 days that I worked on it that week. And I was continuing in the February block. So this will be a very large piece when it is done. It has a block for every month of the year. And I did finish January's right there, but I was continuing to work on February. Man, the screen mirroring is throwing me for a loop. So I believe I had started the water last time. So I finished the water and I worked into starting the heart. I got the tree done with the bird. I started some of the snow around the pond, and I started a little bit of the pond where there are 2 people ice skating on it. So that is where I am with a year at Hawk Run Hollow. 41/1 or 1/2 is just dainty. It is finer. It is more delicate. I do like the look of it, but stitching wise, I love a little bit of a higher count. All right, and then in the beginning of October, what better than to stitch Within a Dream by the Artsy Housewife. I am stitching this on 32 count linen in Over the Moon by Color and Cotton using the called for flosses stitched 2/2. And I was able to stitch in a total of 594 stitches for only 4 days that week, but I did hit 16.72% complete on this project, and I'm now sitting at 3.01%, or that was an increase of 3.01% that week. And where are we at? So this will be a very long and narrow piece, but that is where I am at right now. So I brought down some of the borders. I think I finished the word dream. I started the top of the raven's head, and I think I finished out the moon with the star. So we'll see how that goes. I did cut my threads on these a little bit too short as I was learning how to do floss drops. So because it is hand dyed, they're mostly hand dyed flosses. I can't do the loop start because 1, it's too short, and 2, it blends the threads. The color's a little bit more than I would like. So I am having to not use the loop start on there for a 2-strand, which I usually like to do the loop start. I'm lazy, what can I say? All right, and then I have 2 more projects to show you this episode. The next one I worked on was the 2020 Pandemic Sampler by sarcygurl. This is a free pattern still available online. I'm stitching this on a 40 count linen in Jamie's Kilt by Fabrics by Stephanie, and I'm using a Mrs. Sada's silk conversion pack, stitching it 1/2, and I was able to get in a total of 885 stitches that week, which was 7 full days. This is a paper pattern, so I do not have percentages. I mostly worked on the border, I believe. So this will be much bigger when it's done, but just showing you where I'm at. So I was able to work on the border at the top there a little bit more. I got a little bit of that stem of that flower done. I feel like I should be showing that there. There we go. I can't see, like I got this thing for the back of my phone so I can use the actual back of the phone camera. That's a better camera, but everything's mirrored. And so I'm like, I don't understand. This is so difficult. My brain is not computing. So that is where I'm at right now. I'm still working on, I'm on page 2, I believe, but still working in the upper left-hand quadrant of this piece. But I am enjoying it. I do think I like stitching on this 40 count better than the Picture This Plus doubloon for the year at Hawk Run Hollow. I don't know if the shrinkage is a little bit different in the dyeing process or what, but. And then the last project I have to show you is a new start. So I wanted to start something new on the road to try to stitch on the road. And I wanted to start a new small that we got the patterns for in the shop recently. And I'm going to show you all the patterns that we got from this designer, which is Shaded Stitchery. I was able to bring in quite a few of her patterns recently. And so I really loved these one designs and I picked one of them and brought it with me to get started. I didn't get much done, but I did work on it for a few days. After we got home from our big long road trip, we were home for about 2 days before we hit the road again for an overnighter. So I started Closely Kept number 3 by Shaded Stitchery. I'm stitching this on a 25 count Lugana in a Little Sassy by Be Stitch Me. I picked this up at her studio this spring as like an offcut or a small, it's 1/8 of a yard or 25 count. And I'm using Weeks Dye Works Adobe because I also wanted to use, we have all the A's and we got the B's in from Weeks Dye Works, but I have to process them and put them in the system still. So this is Adobe. See if it'll focus. Stop focusing on me. Got a nice subtle variegation in there. And I'm stitching this, like I said, 1/1 because the model of the Assisi version, which is what I am doing, you can either do the pattern or the background. I'm doing the background or the Assisi. It's twice the amount of stitching, but I like the look of it. It was stitched 1/1 on Be Stitch Me, 25 count. So I was like, okay. So I have started with this. I did get a total of 426 stitches in over 5 days total that I worked on this. And I am at 0.18% because it is not a very big design. So I've started in the upper left-hand corner. I've stitched 10 by 10 blocks. You can start to see the relief work over there. And I'm just kind of going there. So yeah, it's going. You can kind of see some of the variegation there, which is subtle and I enjoy. I think this is gonna be, I actually should be able to stitch another one on the other side, but like putting this in my Q-snap, there's lots of room around it, but it's still a little bit tight to get to the edges where I started it, because you can see I tried to put a nurge hoop around it and I was stitching in there, which was fine, but putting it in my 11 by 11 Q-snap is a little bit, there's not a ton of extra fabric to work with that. So those are the 7 works in progress that I worked on. Over the last 2 months, there's only one project that I did not touch. And I don't know, that must have been one of the last ones on my wheel. But other than that, you're pretty much seeing a whip parade from me other than one project. But I'm excited with the little progress that I have. It's my little progress and I'm enjoying it. So let's go right into Flosstube mentions. Usually each Flosstube, I'd like to mention 3 other Flosstubes and tag them for people that I enjoy watching. The first one is the cross stitch guy. This is Yoshi. I had heard about him talked about on several other Flosstube channels, and I've watched a couple of his videos and I enjoy his array of projects and his array of different counts and fabrics and types of projects. So definitely check him out. I don't think he's a bit more irregular like me, not as, weekly updates and things like that. But great to catch up with him. I also love watching Leanne Stitches. This is Leanne. She is also the dyer behind Forbidden Fiber Company. And I did get to see Leanne on our travels in North Carolina at SAF. It was always great catching up with her, and I do enjoy watching her progress on her Flosstubes. And then the third one that I randomly selected was Kenny Stitches, and that is Kenny. And he is a wonderful stitcher, I believe, out of Indiana, with a plethora of different types of projects and so many different projects that every time I catch up with him, which is usually about once a month, I think he does his Flosstubes. It's great to see the array of projects and the progress that he makes. So definitely check out those 3 Flosstubes if you're not already watching them. I did quickly want to talk about some haul that I got. On our travels, we were driving through Tennessee, and I stopped in Cross Stitch and Crafts in Johnson City, Tennessee. It was a lovely store on the 2nd floor. We had a little trouble finding it. We actually walked into a not yet opened new yarn and spinning store on the bottom floor and talked with the new owner with her for about 10 minutes before we went up to the cross stitch store. But I did kit up a new project minus the DMC. I walked around. They had a huge array of floss patterns and whatnot. Not a ton of fabric, but a decent amount. But I was able to pick up the pattern for A Year in the Woods, #1, the Fox from Cottage Garden Samplings, which you've probably seen all over the place. But even my partner, Andy, was like, oh, that one's cool. So I picked up the pattern for that. I picked up the 2 specialty threads from Gentle Art Sampler Threads I got 1 skein of burnt orange and 2 in chalk, because I am going to stitch this 32 count 2/2. And I picked out a piece of fabric, which they sell by the square inch. So they literally measure it to the piece that you want. And this is the piece that I got for the Fox. This is Spellbound. I'm not sure who the dyer is because they did not give me the tag. They asked me which cut I wanted, and I was like, I don't need the tag, but now I don't know what it is. So it says FLR 32 Spellbound NBD. So I don't know what that means on my receipt, but that'll look lovely for the Fox. I'm excited to have that to put on my new start wheel. So when I get the option of new start on my projects, I will have a second wheel with all the projects that I have kitted up and ready to go, or for the most part kitted up and ready to go. And so I spin that to select my new start. All right, last but not least, I want to show you some new patterns we got in the shop. These are available online now or in store. I picked 1 designer. We got a couple of new designers' patterns in to show you, but I wanted to show you ones from Shaded Stitchery since I started one of her patterns. So the first one we got in is Summer Mosaic. This is a 61 by 61 count, 8 colors, 3,721 stitches. It is a smaller pattern, but I really liked the colors and the Art Deco vibe of it. So that is Summer Mosaic. We also got in Broken Wings Welcomed. This is a 66 by 66 count, 5 colors, 2,201 stitches. And I was watching somebody else, they talked about how there is like a wrap or a Band-Aid because of the broken wing on the bird. And I really enjoyed that sentiment. And then I got in all 5 of her closely kept patterns from this series. So I'm going to go backwards just because of the way they're in here. This is closely kept #5. This is the newest release. And so you can see here, you can stitch the actual design, what's stitched in white here, or you can stitch the relief or the CC version on all of these types of designs. And so the one I'm doing is where you stitch the relief. So that is #5. I guess we're not going in order. These weren't organized in order. This is #1. This was the first one that she did. And So these closely kept, I'm going to read you in the back here. It says, inspired by a cased tin type found in the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture online archives, this semi-reproduction interprets the flower motif embellishment that's embossed into the velvet on the side of the case. About the series, closely kept is a numbered series, part reproduction, part interpretation, showcasing the unique personalities of these motifs in collection of photo cases in the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture collection of photo cases. Although most of their identities are lost to time, these cases were surely treasured and closely kept. So this is closely kept number 4. This is number 3. This is the one that I'm stitching, and I'm doing this version with stitching the background. And these, if you do not like paper patterns, you can purchase directly from her and get a Pattern Keeper friendly version, which is what I did personally. This is number 2. And I think that's it. That's all from Shaded Stitchery that we've got in the shop, but definitely check those out. You can find those online. I'll have them linked in the show notes, but also if you go to leadingmenfiberarts.com, and on the left-hand side, there is a menu, and you click on cross stitch and then patterns, and then you can sort by designer. And if you click on Shaded Stitchery, that'll bring up all of those patterns for you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, whatever day you're watching this. Leave me a comment down below with what you're stitching, what you're enjoying in the video, or some Flosstubers that you enjoy that you think that I should check out, especially if you have your own. I would enjoy that. I am excited for November. We are going... We're not going to be traveling as much. There's a lot happening here at the store, so definitely sign up for our newsletter and join our Facebook and Facebook group and follow us on Instagram if you are not already doing so. And if you're so inclined, check out our Patreon linked down below. There are quite a few perks if you are a Patreon member. We have a $1 a month subscription and a $5 a month subscription. And I am also going to be doing kind of a road trip recap video with some photos and videos and whatnot of our 2.5-week road trip and some of the stuff we got to see. But I am only going to be posting that on Patreon. So it won't be live for anybody to view on YouTube. It's going to be one of the perks for being a Patreon subscriber. We thank all of our Patreons, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in and checking out this Flosstube today. Thanks again, and I will check in with you at the beginning of December. I can't believe that 2025 is coming to a close. It's crazy. But until I see you next month, I hope you have a wonderful month of stitching, and I'll see you then. Bye.